Well, I think Namibia's good image globally as a liberal country that respects human rights, that was in fact the result of a struggle against human rights abuses with UN backing, that image has a crack now, because clearly the message is neither in law nor through the courts are the very rights that others enjoy, that are heterosexual. Those rights are just not granted to people who are homosexual, and that is, by international human rights standard, a clear discrimination based on sexual orientation.
Of course, a major blow and a major disappointment, personally. But we'll have to wait to be able to study the actual document before we can take any further appropriate action. But in the meanwhile, it, I think, really comes as quite a shock to many, and fits within this larger picture of, very harsh resistance to make any progress in terms of equal rights for all.
We're both very sad as parents because we've been separated now for more than almost now 2 months, basically. I mean, our kids are already, 6 weeks almost, and I've not met them. So we really were picturing being together, in a matter of days, tomorrow. And because I was hopeful, thought it was, what we requested was in the best interest of our children. And it seems that it was not a reasonable request, so I'm disappointed and sad.
The court doesn't want to overreach, whatever that may mean. We'll have to read the judgment and see. But essentially, the court clearly is satisfied with keeping the status quo, basically a family apart. What the court basically has said is that if the court were to step in and to provide the relief that is sought, it would amount to judicial overreach, basically saying that the court would be entering the realm of the executive, which of course from our perspective is a very unfortunate thing for the court to say, because our courts in our constitutional setup are the last line of defense. If the executive doesn't uphold your basic constitutional rights, it is the courts that you turn to. And for the courts to then refuse to act is very, very disappointing. We'll have to study the judgment, of course, and see what exactly he had to say, and then determine a way forward. Because, bottom line is, it's in the interest of the children to be with their family. And the present situation cannot prevail, obviously.
It's the bigger issue here, that the court basically, the judge said, I don't want to overreach, I don't want to adjudge these rights. But what then do we have courts for? That is precisely what the court's role must be, to weigh up the different rights, to weigh up how fundamental are they, and can they be just thrown out the window because we don't like the sexual orientation of that couple. In terms of the right of the children, it's even more dramatic. There are now 3 absolutely innocent children who would have had probably a very comfortable, settled lifestyle in Windhoek, and their lives are all thrown in turmoil. And in such a scenario, I do not understand how a judge can say, I don't want to overreach. Now, who must then adjudicate on a matter like that? When the Constitution says this, the Home Affairs Ministry says that, it's going to court for a judgment. And to just say, I don't want to overreach, is, in my view, it hasn't done any justice to the family, for starters, but it has also not helped clarify this fundamental human rights question.